Hey, it's your old pal Steve Areno Cool Kits. This is the Rio Grande Models HOn3 Westside Lumber Company Caboose number 2. Take one. Boom! All right, well, we continue to have a great time this winter while it's still a little bit cold. Too cold to actually do finish painting. We can get as far as build and prime, then we have to set it aside. And if you've been watching and sort of walking along with me as I've gone through the last few videos, you saw that we did the Rio Grande Southern snowplow, we did a tank car. Most recently, we shifted gears and went over to the Westside Lumber Company, and we just completed the coffin tank car there. And now we're getting into some cabooses. And it's a little embarrassing, but I got to tell on myself. And I finished building this one, and I got it primed, the coffin tank car here. All of a sudden, I got to thinking, wait a minute, I think I might have that. And lo and behold, I went and consulted Santa's Christmas closet. And there it was. So I actually have another one of these that I got sometime way back when and put it away in the stash. And it's there. And since they only ran one on this prototype line, I really wouldn't have a need to have a second one. So I have to decide what I want to do. Good news is I finished this one, which was actually older, and kind of find out I had another one in the stash. But that's the way us big-time modelers are. We have all kinds of kits all over the place. And as I've said before, our women folk, if we happen to be married to the right one, just put up with this because they know that we're not going to change. That's just the way we are. We got models, and you don't have to go to the store. You just go to the closet, right? I thought, well, let me sort of set this up and see how it looks. And this particular, this is the Shea number 8, which I got one time, sometime, I don't know when time. And a good friend of mine put sound in it, which is fantastic. And this thing runs really great, sounds great, looks great. I was sort of seeing here, I got a little adjustment with that because I never really ran it per se, but I can see I got to lower that back there and I've got to lower the front. And then I also, in similar fashion, somewhere over time, acquired this caboose. And this particular caboose, though, the box that it was put in was labeled caboose number 7. Consulting my reference material, I see that it was actually caboose number 3. So the way this brass stuff goes a lot of times is that, not to be morbid, but older fellows had it passed along and then it's sold in their estate. And so it must have been the case that somebody, when they boxed it up, they kind of looked the same, these Westside Lumber cabooses, and they put it in the wrong box. And so, that's all right. I actually like caboose number 3 a little bit better than number 7, and if we really want number 7, we'll build it. But it's actually caboose number 3. Myself, I've gotten to, and I'll just use this as a time, the opportunity to say it, I've gotten to a place in my modeling where these are models. These are not miniature real things. And so I used to get all fussy and, do a lot of photo etch and, just all the fun got laundered out of my modeling. Now I just go for it being a model. And so I'm perfectly satisfied in this thing looking in brass and something else being painted and running around the layout and filling the gaps with imagination because it's a model. And that's just for me. So I'm perfectly 100% satisfied with it looking like this. And I can even remember as a kid and even a young hobbyist going to the hobby shops when we still had those and looking in the cases at the brass locomotives and just imagining how awesome and great it would be to have one. And now I'm fortunate to have a few. And so I just kind of leave them this way. If they're painted, they're painted. If they're not, they're not. And they're just models. To me, they look awesome. And they represent what the artist who built them did. These happen to be from Japan. Back to what this video is about. Rio Grande Models Limited, the once upon a time company out of Santa Clara that made all these awesome Craftsman kits. This one happens to be on Westside Lumber caboose number 2, which had this outside bracing, and it had a bowed roof, tar paper on it. I'm really looking forward to building this one. This is the next project up on the modeler bench. It's pretty straightforward, and these instructions are awesome. As long as you follow the steps and go in order, they just fall together perfect. It's been my experience, and I've built several of them now. So this will be the next, and we will be back as we motor ahead. All right, bye. All right, here's the first progress update. We're following the instructions exactly as they detail. I have to say that I'm finding out so far that this particular Rio Grande Limited kit is a couple steps above others that I built. They really improved, methodology, fit, finish of materials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they go together a lot easier. What you do is you use this laser scribe floor. You don't even need a plan. You just build based on this. You flip it over. You put in one in bolster. You put in these 6 pieces pieces butted right up against, same. And then you put the other bolster on the other end. And what happens is, it just fits flush. You cut the buffer block material in half. You put half on this end, half on the other. Then you put in these coupler pockets. I use HOn3 couplers, so you're going to need to trim the couplers, they say, a little bit. Some folks use in-scale couplers. I made that decision a long time ago, so I got to stay with the HOn3s because I don't want to change everything else on my rolling stock. And then you put in the bolsters for the wheels. White metal, so you got to kind of clean them up a little bit, but they fit perfect. I mean, look at that, and look at that. Everything's just fitting just fantastic. So we'll finish up, decorating this with all the linkages and the air cylinder for the air actuated brakes, build the trucks, probably throw a little bit of prime on it, and then prime it on here, and then start building the Caboose house itself. It's going to be fun to get into that with its curved roof. You got to steam that, which, we've worked with balsa wood model airplanes, so we know how to do that, so it won't be too much of a difficulty with the basswood. And then you simulated tar paper on the roof and prime and get that ready for paint. I've been really, really cold out here in California by California standards. Last night we were down to like 33 degrees here in the wine country, which is real cold for us. Good weather to build models, great to have a hobby, and I'd encourage anybody who hasn't got a hobby to get a hobby, cultivate a hobby. Mine happens to be this and a couple others, and I just think as you get older, having hobbies is a great thing. And I was fortunate to grow up in the really great part of the 60s in suburbia where, we all had lots of hobbies and pursued hobbies and had lots of interests and managed to keep those all through college years and working years. And now that I'm retired, and I was able to retire early, so now I can pursue my hobbies and don't forget to contribute to society, so I throw that in there too, figure out a way that you can continue to do that because we don't want to just be, takers. We want to be giving something back all the time. So, involved in scouts, involved in school, substitute teaching, and a bunch of different subjects, and coaching sports. And you know what? There's still lots of time left over for family and hobbies. So I think the same could be true for you. Go after it. Here's another progress update on the Caboose number 2. We've managed to get all of the underside completed on this little guy. Continues to go just like a snap. We got all of the tie brace, turnbuckle. This kit, it's wires, so you got to do a lot of wire bending. Brake lines, air lines, built the trucks up, wing freely. Everything working just perfect. And I always like to keep a piece of test track, as you guys have already started to figure out by looking at the other build videos. And I just keep every once in a while making sure that everything's going along just right, because that's what you want. You want this thing to roll freely, roll correctly, and not build in derailments. You want to take that all that kind of stuff out of your model railroading. You don't want to spend all the energy and do all the painting and then find out it doesn't work right, because no amount of paint fixes or covers bad fit. Okay, bye.